Something is not right in America. For years we've seen friends, family, and neighbors struggle with illnesses that don't seem to have a clear cause. We're talking about chronic diseases, conditions that last a long time and can be very difficult to manage. Think about things like asthma, allergies, and developmental disorders like autism, which have become more and more common. It's like a quiet epidemic is spreading across the country, but instead of a virus we can see under a microscope, the culprit is much harder to pin down. It's a national mystery we have to solve, not just for us, but for future generations who deserve to grow up healthy and strong. The clues to this mystery might be hiding in plain sight in the very things we depend on to live: our water, our food, and the air we breathe. For a long time we thought of pollution as something far away, like smokestacks in industrial cities or oil spills in the ocean. But what if the danger is closer to home? What if it's in the tap water we drink every day, or in the processed foods that fill our grocery store shelves? These hidden poisons, these tiny chemicals and toxins, can build up in our bodies over time, slowly causing damage that we might not notice until it's too late. It's a serious problem that demands our attention. Imagine your body is like a very complex machine. It needs clean fuel, clean water, and a clean environment to run properly, but day after day, we are introducing tiny bits of sand and grit into the system, a little bit here, a little bit there. One day the machine starts to sputter, it doesn't work as well as it used to. This is what many scientists and health experts now believe is happening to us. The constant exposure to a cocktail of chemicals from farming, industry, and everyday products is overloading our systems, leading to the rise in chronic illnesses that we are now officially calling a national health emergency. This isn't just a theory anymore, it's a national conversation. The focus of our country's health policy is shifting. We are moving beyond just fighting germs and viruses to investigating these environmental triggers. The question is no longer if something in our environment is making us sick, but what it is and where it's coming from. We are on a mission, a scientific quest, to uncover these hidden poisons. We need to follow the evidence, connect the dots, and understand how these substances travel from their source and end up affecting the health of millions of Americans all across the nation. To understand how these poisons travel, let's take a journey down one of America's greatest natural wonders, the Mississippi River. This mighty river is like the circulatory system of our nation, starting as a small stream in northern Minnesota and flowing all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. It touches the lives of millions of people, providing water for drinking, farming, and industry. But this vital artery is also carrying a hidden, toxic burden. As it winds its way through the heartland, it collects more than just water. It collects the runoff from our modern world, creating a chemical superhighway that flows south. The journey begins in the farmlands of the Midwest. Here, massive amounts of fertilizers and pesticides are used to grow the food that feeds our country. When it rains, these chemicals don't just stay on the fields. They wash into small streams and creeks, which then feed into larger tributaries, and eventually into the Mississippi River itself. Think of it like adding a spoonful of something to a small puddle, which then flows into a pond, and then into a lake. By the time it reaches the main river, that single spoonful has been joined by millions of others, creating a powerful flow of agricultural pollution. As the river continues its journey south, it passes by cities and industrial centers. Factories line its banks, and while many follow regulations, spills, leaks, and permitted discharges can add another layer of pollutants to the water. These can be heavy metals, industrial solvents, and other man-made chemicals that were never meant to be in our ecosystem. The river doesn't have a filter. It can't separate the clean water from the contaminated runoff. It simply carries everything along on its current, mixing the farm chemicals with the industrial waste into a complex and dangerous cocktail that flows through the heart of our country. The final destination for this polluted water is the Gulf of Mexico, near New Orleans. Here, the massive load of nutrients from farm fertilizers triggers a catastrophic event. It feeds huge blooms of algae, which then die, sink, and decompose, using up all the oxygen in the water. This creates a vast area, sometimes as large as the state of New Jersey, where marine life cannot survive. It's called the dead zone. This is the ultimate visible consequence of our journey. It shows us how pollution that starts 1,000 miles away can have devastating effects, destroying entire ecosystems and reminding us that what we put into our environment will always end up somewhere. Faced with this growing crisis, the American government is finally changing its approach. For decades, our national health strategy focused primarily on infectious diseases, the kind caused by bacteria and viruses. But now, under the leadership of President Trump and his new Health and Human Services Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., there has been a major pivot. A national health emergency has been declared, but not for a pandemic. This emergency is for the silent epidemic of chronic disease. The government is now officially tasked with investigating and eliminating the environmental poisons believed to be at the root of so many of our modern health problems. This new mission is not just about talk, it's about action. One of the first targets is our drinking water. Citing reports that link fluoride to health issues, the government has begun the process of removing it from the nation's water supply. This is a huge shift in public health policy, moving away from a practice that has been standard for generations. The goal is to ensure that the water coming out of our taps is as pure as possible, free from chemicals that could potentially harm our development and long-term health. It's a clear signal that protecting citizens from environmental toxins is now a top priority. The battle extends from our taps to our tables. The food we eat is also under intense scrutiny. Federal agencies are now cracking down on highly processed foods and the thousands of chemical additives that are common in American products but banned in many other parts of the world. Secretary Kennedy has been very clear, calling some fast foods and sugary drinks poison. The government is also taking a hard look at infant formula to ensure that our very youngest citizens are getting the purest and most nutritious start in life. The message is simple: what we put into our bodies matters, and it's time to clean up our food supply. This new war on poisons is a fundamental change in how we think about health. It puts public well-being ahead of corporate profits and demands that we look critically at the chemicals that have become a normal part of our lives. By focusing on the root causes of chronic illness and autism, the administration is trying to build a healthier America from the ground up. This isn't just about treating sickness, it's about preventing it in the first place by cleaning up the environment we all share. It's an ambitious plan, one that redefines what national health and security truly mean in the 21st century. The government has drawn a line in the sand, declaring a national emergency and taking bold steps to fight the hidden poisons in our environment. But this can't be a battle fought only from Washington, D.C. This is a challenge that involves every single one of us in our homes, in our communities, and in the choices we make every single day. The new policies are a great start, but they are just that, a start. Now the question falls to us: what should America do next? How do we, the people, join this fight and ensure that we create a truly safe and healthy future for everyone? First, we need to become more educated and aware consumers. We can start by reading labels on the food we buy, choosing fresh, whole foods over heavily processed options whenever possible. We can support local farmers who use sustainable practices that don't rely on dumping massive amounts of chemicals onto the land. Think about it. Every dollar we spend is a vote for the kind of world we want to live in. By choosing products that are healthier for us and for the planet, we send a powerful message to corporations that we demand better, safer options for our families. Next, we can take action in our own communities. This can be as simple as using natural-friendly cleaning products in our homes to reduce the amount of chemicals that go down the drain and into our water systems. We can get involved with local groups that work to protect our rivers and streams, or we can advocate for better water filtration systems in our towns and schools. By working together at the local level, we can create pockets of change that add up to a national movement, supporting the government's top-down efforts with powerful grassroots action from the bottom up. Ultimately, solving the problem of America's hidden poisons requires a shared commitment. We need our scientists to continue their research, our leaders to remain firm in their policies, and every citizen to become a steward of our collective health. We must ask ourselves tough questions. Are we willing to change our habits? Are we ready to demand more from the companies that make our products? The journey to a healthier America is a long one, and it starts with each of us recognizing our role in the system. The time for passive waiting is over. Let's get to work.